Hello, Bosco here. Do a quick talk about the Pimax Crystal Light headset I just got a couple of days ago. I've been doing a lot of tests, and I'm on a RTX5080 with a Ryzen 9800 3D or whatever they're called. Good system. It's not a 5090. I guess those exist, but it's a good system. And I just put it at 90, and I had my game up here at 80, which is that's 75, that's 50. If you put it on low, you can kiss all your crowds in stadium and tents and then feel goodbye. I had it on 80 and I had it on balanced and I put it on where am I at over here? I put it on 90. Wouldn't run it. It's a killer system. And right now, my AMS2, which is the easiest game to push in VR, I was running 36 or 38 cars, that's what I always do. Usually I go 48 if it'll allow me, but I had 36, 38 liveries on that one. I think I had 38 cars. Didn't run. Then I went to this 90 upscale. And in my previous test, the 90 upscale I just did not like. But it was actually quite good. But you cannot have smart smoothing on. The minute you turn this on, you're going to see ghosting. You can alt tab in and out and change that and change any of this stuff by alt tabbing in and out of the game. You can just hit pause on the track or in the air, jump out, come over here, change that. Now, if you change your actual resolution, that will reset everything and kick you out of the game. And so you don't want to do that from within the game. You want to gracefully close the game if you're going to change complete resolutions. But I'm running one of the better systems you're going to find for the average person. Very carefully built. And I got 2 external powered fans that I use on top of the 9 or 10 internal fans to give the absolute best cooling. There's no such thing as enough cooling, especially if you live in the South and it's you can't keep your house below 80 degrees. So your ambient temperature going into the machine's already warm. So at that point, you just need some real blasting going on, and it does make a difference. Because if you ever start slowing down, that's heat. And as much as I know these cases are built and designed to be closed, a lot of these new designs just don't allow for the same push-pull because of cable management. They block off the bottom, and the way they align cards now, things are just, they're not as easy to cool in my opinion. I think my old system, I could keep a good 10 to 15 C cooler at every point. And that was just because I had push-pull, doing opposite, pulling one way, pushing the other, one inside the case, one outside the case, and one directly on the processor in and out. And that made just gobs of difference. But you can't do that on this system. So that's unfortunately the one thing I thought for sure with 9 or 10 fans, I wouldn't have that problem. Heat still can be a problem. But with all that said, I'm going back to 72 because at 72 I can run full fields of 48 cars and nothing below high. Nothing below high. Nothing's at medium. Nothing's off. It's, I wish I could push everything to ultra, and I might be able to. But okay, I put it on high, and high, all that means is one. And if you see one, the forward expandability of this card is, look what you can do. You can push this thing to 200%, which is what I used to do with my Rift. Uh, and then the the actual 7290 and 120, I still think we're 4 or 5 years before there's any computers on the market where people can run that with everything in their stuff turned up. And if you're a flight simmer, 5 years is a dream probably. But personally, instead of trying to go to 90, where most people have been used to, and they think that's some magical number that was pulled out of the air by somebody, uh, and turn things off, go to 72 and turn things up. When I was at 90 upscale in 72, I think everything's more readable at 72 because there's no algorithm involved. It's really clean. I mean, if you turn on the smart smoothing, you're going to probably get a bunch of ghosting. And if you turn this on, that will never be clicked ever again. That is awful. If you glance left, right, up, or down while you're looking straight, you can't really see outside that center priority. It's very distracting. And this headset is so crystal clear, you don't need it, you know. And I've never relied on eye tracking. If I just barely turn my head left or right, everything stays dead center. And this has got a large sweet spot. That's one of the reasons this headset's so good. And as far as weight, coming from the Rift, I don't see a problem at all. Matter of fact, I think it's back heavy. So you might want to hold off buying weights for the back, which a lot of people say they need. Uh, but to me, it's not as comfortable as the Rift was, but I got all the padding coming from New Zealand that should be here tomorrow, the next day, and uh, pushing it off your face, as almost every review says. I hadn't been able to do it yet, but I already know that's going to be huge on the clarity and the ease of strain looking through it. So definitely, you probably want to get that padding if you don't already have it. And I hadn't even put it on yet, and I already know it's going to be an improvement. But leave that off. That one just does nothing. It tells you it may do nothing. So if it's not going to prove it does anything, why use it? But one before was very tough. And I'll give you one quick last look. Is you come over to here, also over here, settings. Now, right now, I'm showing as offline because the actual current version is 1.4. And if I run 1.4, I go immediately to 45% sitting still, just in the half dozen programs that run. And everybody online was complaining about 139 doing the same thing. And someone graciously threw the link to 138 up there, which is still available on the Pimax site. And when I did that, I went from 45% to 15%. I still think it's using too much resources, but I'm able to turn things up higher now because my processor isn't being pushed. And I do have an open ticket with Pimax about that. And y'all are probably wondering about this. Pimax, not a cheap headset. And this is, the Light's the inexpensive one, and it's almost $900. By the time you put padding in it, it's $900. So nothing cheap about that. So the way they do it is you pay $600 up front. They give you the headset. They give you 2 weeks to decide, is this for me? And the overhead on this Pimax Plus is making me not jump in and pay for it. I know it will, but I want to see their response to my ticket because it's really bad. The overhead on this headset. Uh, Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't been able to find any of the great third-party tools that were in the metal world that truly doubled everything on that headset just by having lightweight software that ran it. This is added into Steam, and so it's really bloated. And for some reason, it's very processor dependent, and it's been that way off and on for at least 5 years. But this helps. I mean, I cannot say enough. If you're having processor issues, go get this until until they fix it. I'm just keeping a copy of this in my download. I'll try 141 comes out or 142. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll take it right back off and throw this one back on. Head tracking issues? Zero, not one. Only had it for a few days, but I've probably got 300 laps or more in it, so not any head tracking issues. And I've done 3-4 different types of room lighting. Made no difference, whereas that made huge difference on my Rift. Definitely made a difference on the Rift, so this has been very solid. One last thing on this for the techies out there. If you look in your processes, there's no VST running. The VST is what runs your visual inside-out tracking, I believe. It's something to do with tracking, according to their website. That's not in this one. And that runs between 7.5% and 8% solid. So right there, you're just, boom, taking a huge hit. My system, without my Pimax running, is 3%, 4%. So go into Task Manager, go into Startup, disable it immediately. I don't care if you race every time you turn your computer off, disable it. Do not want this Pimax running unless you're racing. It's just putting a strain on your system that does not need to be there. And if you're coming from me like Oculus, get it off your system. That could be a problem if you bought a bunch of games from Oculus, because you won't be able to get to them unless you have it on. But at that point, make sure it's disabled if you're using this one. And if you want to use your Oculus software, you'll have to turn it on and run a third overhead. So good luck with that. But I noticed immediately as soon as I turned this one on, after I thought I'd strip everything to do with my Oculus stuff off, the Metal Link was running. And that's when it gave me all the warnings when I was taking it off that I'll lose access to anything I'd ever bought in the store. But I never bought anything in the store. Yeah, got a few free things, but I kept everything in Steam for that very reason, because I never thought I'd ever leave Steam. I've been using Steam for 20 years. And it's got 38 million people at any given moment. Minimum 38 million people at any given moment. It's nuts. I mean, Steam is here to stay. But come back and watch me do a test. This card is epic, but it does have some resource issues, and you need a beast of a machine still. That's why I'm running here. I've got a very good spec machine, and this seemed to run fine on as long as I had the smoothing off. But right here, I can set it up for my hardest game, which is ACC, not including the flight, and know it's going to work without touching a setting ever again. The only setting that I might have to touch is the only one I'm testing right now is going to high. At 90 on high, I didn't think I was getting out of the game. I thought I was going to have to just hard shut down the computer. It was that bad. And this is on a good system. So, take my advice. Don't start here and take stuff out. Start down at 72, add it to the max, then reduce it, and you'll realize that things just look better and run better at 72. I'm convinced. If they get the software better, I should be able to run 90. I think I should. But until it proves it can on Ultra all the way across the board, I'm not. 90 and 120 are future proof. That gives you this card for the next 5-6 years, because this can be 5 years before they catch up to what this card can do. Fully catch up to it. And if you start doubling the resolution at 120, I don't think we're going to be there in 2030. That's honest. Uh, but it's coming from, a man who made his living working for IBM for 30 years. So uh, I've worked with a lot of smart people, most of them smarter than me. And I was a sponge every minute of the day. Yeah. Give me a better way, no ego. I will adopt instantly. So if you know of some third party software that will ease this congestion so I can turn this thing up to where we all know this system should run it, heck yeah, help me out. I appreciate this community. I mean, the modding community, the racing community, the flying community. That's good people. And, I can't tell you how many hours of enjoyment I've gotten from people who just generously give of their time and efforts and skills to give us cars, mods, skins, you know, how to make things run better. Uh, you know, always try to give back and make places better than you found them. It's how we make this world a better place. Bosco out.